Namaste. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Aparna. I am your emotional healing synergist. I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist, a passionate infopreneur, edupreneur, and medical writer. In the last session, that is in the previous session, I had discussed about the book Atomic Habits and why should we read atomic the book and chapter 1 to chapter 6 of the book. And this book consists of 20 chapters. The remaining chapters from chapter 6 to chapter 20, we are going to discuss it today. So let me welcome you all. And if you have not, if you have missed the session, you can always watch it in the LinkedIn and YouTube. So before you come to this, before you watch this, I would recommend you to watch that because we have covered all the first six chapters with the reasons to read this book. So let's get started. Just for the recap, I would just want to say, Atomic Habits is by James Clear is a comprehensive practical how to change your habits and get 1% better every day. So this book, teaches us mainly how to change our habits and how to get 1% better every day. See, using a framework called it uses a framework called four laws of behavior change. I had discussed this in the previous session. If you want, please do refer the session. So Atomic Habits teaches readers a simple set of rules for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. So we had learned that the small habits make a big difference. Forget about, setting goals and focus on the process instead and the system instead. We had discussed about the habit loop, that is cue, craving, reward, and response. This is the habit loop, and for that we had discussed, to create a good habit, we should make it obvious, we should make it attractive, we should make it easy and make it satisfying. And to break a bad habit, it is the inversion. That means make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. So all these we had learned in the last session. So here, chapter 7 here talks about, see, chapter 6, we up to chapter 6 we had discussed, I had discussed in the first session. So chapter 7 talks about the secret to self control. So what is the secret to self control is the concept of temptation building. There's a concept which has been explained which is called temptation building, and which involves a pairing a desirable activity with a less enjoyable one to increase motivation. For example, so what did was it say? Temptation bundling is pairing a desirable activity with a less desirable or less enjoyable one to increase motivation. So how? Suppose if you dislike folding laundry, so, what you do is pair it with listening to an engaging podcast or an audio book which you love. You know, pair it with a habit which you love. That means if you dislike folding laundry, pair it with listening to an engaging podcast or audio book to make the task more enjoyable. The inversion of the first law of behavior change is make it invisible. So, and as we have discussed it earlier, the inversion is, if you have to break a habit, what you have to do is you have to make it invisible. If you think of stopping junk from today, so what you have to do, the first thing you have to do is don't have junk food at home, then making it invisible. So he talks about once a habit is formed, it is unlikely to be forgotten. So James Clear talks discusses about habit. Once a habit is formed, it is unlikely to be forgotten. People with high self control tend to spend less time in tempting situations. It is easier to avoid temptation than resist it. See, if you have here, he talks about the having high self control. People with high self control tend to spend less time in tempting situations, so it is easier to avoid temptation than resist it. So, one of the most practical ways to eliminate a bad habit is to reduce exposure to the cue that causes it. That means to reduce to stop eating junk, you have to reduce exposure to the junk food. So, self control is a short term strategy, not a long term one. Though self control, he talks about, it says that self control is a short term strategy. It is not a long term one, unless and until it becomes a habit and it is attached to your gene. Till then, it is just a short term strategy. Self control is short term, but the habit would be a long term strategy. So, how to make a habit irresistible? So, chapter 8 talks about making a habit irresistible. So, how to make a habit irresistible? So, here James Clear emphasizes the importance of making desired habits more appealing by associated them with positive emotions. So what he says is, if you want to exercise regularly, choose an activity you genuinely enjoy, or find ways to make the exercise more enjoyable. That means join a group class or listen to motivating music when you exercise. That means here what is said is importance of making desired habits. The making a desired habit is exercising regularly here daily. So how do you make it? By appealing, more, by making it more appealing, by associated the exercise, that means the habit, with positive emotions. Here we are associating with the exercise. If suppose we join a group class, when 10 more people are doing exercising with you, it is a motivation for you, positive emotion and a motivation for you to exercise. And listen to motivating music, or listen to motivating music, any of the things. That means make that habit more appealing to you. So he talks about the second law of behavioral change, that is make it attractive. May to form a habit, you have to make a desired habit attractive. The more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it is to become habit forming. Habits are a dopamine driven feedback loop. When dopamine rises, so does our motivation to act. So he says that habits are a dopamine driven feedback loop. So it is the anticipation of a reward, not the fulfillment of it, that gets us to the action. So suppose you are running a marathon, and the first prize is something very desirable. It is not the not that you the greater the anticipation, the greater the dopamine spike. So you run the marathon now for that reward, so there is a dopamine spike and you give your best to win that award. That means whatever is for a marathon, if for suppose you are running a marathon, or you are your office comes up with a award for a good presentation or the best presentation. So what you do is, the award, and the anticipation of that award, that means you are getting that award, visualizing that you are getting that award or you are about to get that award, gives you a dopamine spike. That means it makes you participate more effectively in the competition. So the greater the anticipation, the greater the dopamine spike. So temptation bundling is one way to make your habits more attractive. The strategy is to pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. So you pair an activity of you want to do with you need to do. That means we had already spoken, if you dislike laundry, folding laundry, you do it with a want of yours. That means you listen to an audio book or a podcast or watch a show, and then pair the activity, so the activity becomes more attractive and appealing. Next, chapter 9 talks about the role of family and friends in shaping your habits. Chapter 9 here talks about role of the family and friends in shaping your habits. That means um, clear explores how social influence and accountability can impact our habits and offers strategies for leveraging them. That means if you want to quit smoking, surround yourself with supportive friends and family members, and consider joining a quit smoking support group. So what this chapter explores how social influence and accountability can impact our habits. you know he tells about the culture we live in determines which behaviors are attractive to us. That means we tend to adopt habits that are praised and approved by our culture, because we have a strong desire to fit in and belong to the tribe. Suppose if you join a quit smoking support group, then the culture within that group will support you to quit smoking because you want to be a part of that group. So we tend to imitate the habits of the three social groups: the close, family and friends; the many, the tribe, where we are in; and the powerful, that means those with status and prestige. He talks about three social groups which usually people, every human wants to fit in. See, he also talks about one of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. You already have something in common with the group. So that means here we were talking about smoking. So I was talking about smoking as an example. So smoking, if you want to quit smoking, so you have to join a group which supports quit smoking. And that means your desired behavior is the normal behavior there. You desire to quit smoking, and it is the normal behavior of the group, and you already have something in common with the group. The common thing is quitting smoking, so you already have something common within the group. So this is what he talks about. That means the normal behavior of the tribe often overpowers the desired behavior of the individual. Most days we would rather be wrong with the crowd than be right by ourselves. So if a behavior can get us approval, respect and praise, we find it attractive. So what happens is, if that quit smoking behavior gets the approval from the group and gets you some respect and gets you some praise, so what happens is, then the person will normally find it attractive. So what happens is, this is the way to get to the desired habit. So the 10th chapter is how to find and fix the cause of your bad habits. So he talks about the bad habits here, how to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. That means this chapter introduces the concept of habit stacking, which involves linking a new habit to an existing one to increase consistency. That means if you want to floss regularly, make it a rule to floss immediately after brushing your teeth. So habit stacking, in the 10th chapter he introduces habit stacking. What is habit stacking? Is linking a new habit to a existing habit. What why we are doing is to increase the consistency. Anyway, teeth every day. So if your desired habit is to floss regularly, make it a rule that after, as soon as you brush your teeth, you do floss your teeth, floss your teeth. So then that becomes a habit stacking. You are linking a new habit to an existing habit. So the inversion of the second law of behavior change, make it unattractive. That means if you want to break a habit, then what you have to do is make it unattractive. That means every behavior has a surface level craving and a deeper underlying motive. It's our modern day solution to ancient desires. These are the quotes he has quoted. I felt this is important, so I've making a note. So your habits are modern day solutions to ancient desires. That means the cause of your habits is actually the prediction that precedes them. That means the prediction leads into a feeling. So the cause here, the that means how is the what is the cause of the habit is the prediction. That means if you if you have the prediction that exercise in your mind, that exercise will make you healthy, then that is the cause of your habit to exercise. So the prediction leads to a feeling. That means you will be healthy if you exercise. Then what you do, ultimately you start exercising. Highlight the benefits of avoiding a bad habit to make it seem unattractive. So to avoid a bad habit, you have to make it unattractive. So habits are attractive when we associate them with positive feelings and unattractive when we associate them with negative feelings. So how do you make it unattractive is, if smoking is a bad habit that you want to get rid. So smoking make it unattractive is, you bring things to your mind. You first, what you do is, you don't keep the cigarettes near to you. Then what you do is, you know the consequences of smoking, health consequences of smoking or personal consequences of smoking. You keep it in the mind. So what happens is, the smoking becomes attractive. That smoking now seems unattractive for you. So when it becomes unattractive, why? Because we have associated with negative feelings. You know that there are health consequences, bad consequences when you smoke. So now it is easy for you to break the habit. Create a motivation ritual by doing something you enjoy immediately before a difficult habit. As he talks about, making a habit and breaking a habit both. So how to make a habit? If you want to make a habit, make that attractive and pair that with the consistent activity. If you want to break that habit, to make it unattractive, associate them with negative feelings. So the chapter 11 here, this was the chapter 10. So chapter 11 talks about walk slowly but never backward. So it talk what is walk slowly but never backward is, this chapter stresses the importance of continuous improvement and persistence in maintaining habits over the long term. So it is not only the habit formation, it is important to continue and maintain the habit over the long term. So for example, if you're working on improving your public speaking skills, suppose, practice regularly, seek regular feedback, from your trust group or the support group, like your close ones, your family, your friends, who will give you constructive feedback, and gradually challenge yourself with more complex speaking engagements. Start slow, but that itself means that, walk slowly but never backward. That means if you when you have formed a habit, you don't have to skip it or you don't have to, you have to maintain it consistently. The persistence is the key here, he talks about. So if you're working on improving your public speaking skills, so you have to practice regularly, you have to seek regular feedback, who would give you constructive, feedback, and gradually challenge yourself with more speaking engagement, more complex speaking engagement. So, the third law of behavior change is make it easy. That is the reason you have to walk slow. If you want to exercise, if you want to make exercising your hobby, you can start it with easy ones. You can start it with less, less minutes, for less minutes, because you are, and after, once it becomes consistent, then you can add complex exercises. So, the most effective form of learning is to practice, not planning. So he talks about, practicing. See, only strategizing is not is not gonna help. You have to put the strategy into action. You have to put it into practice. Focus on taking action, not being in motion. That means habit formation is the process by which a behavior becomes progressively more automatic through repetition. So habit formation means, if you tend to, if you have to develop a public speaking skill, you know the public speaking progressively should be more automatic. It should come in general, in normally it should come. Till then, it is the habit formation. So habit formation is the process by which a behavior becomes progressively more automatic through repetition. Same goes with exercise, same goes with, you know building another read a book habit or something like that. The amount of time you have been performing a habit is not as important as the number of times you have performed it. So he says that the time you give, the amount of time you have been performing a habit, you are performing a habit, suppose for 21 days, is not as important as the number of times you have performed it. That means in 21 days, if 21 days you have performed the habit, then this times of performance is more important than how much time you are performing the habit. So that he talks about. So chapter 12 here, next chapter, is the law of least effort, or the 2-minute rule. The chapter 12 talks about the 2-minute rule. That means the law of least effort. That means if a habit takes less than 2 minutes to do, it's worth doing right away. That means the lesser the time, the lesser the effort, and the easier to develop a habit. That means if a habit takes less than 2 minutes to do, it's worth doing it right away. If you want to read more books, starting with just 2 minutes of reading each night can be the catalyst for building a consistent reading habit. So if you want to cultivate a habit of reading books, so you can start with just 2 minutes of reading each night. So what happens over a period of time, that 2 minutes becomes consistent. Then you can build a reading habit of more minutes, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want, you can build on it. So, human behavior follows the law of least efforts. So, human behavior here always follows the law of least effort. So, wherever we have to put the least efforts, that we will pick up very soon. That a human being, he has the tendency to pick up very soon, and that could be consistent as well. That means we will naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. Create an environment where doing the right thing is as easy as possible. So the right thing should be made as easy as possible, then only we are going to do it. We're gonna start it, we're gonna keep it consistent. So reduce the friction associated with the good behaviors. When friction is low, habits are easy. If you want to start to the habit of cultivating, reading books, then don't do it, I'll read for an hour. So if you start that you will read for an hour, if the friction is very high there, so the chances are that you will not read from the next day. One day you might read for an hour, but from the next day you will not be reading because the friction is more there, and the habit formation becomes difficult. So increase the friction associated with the bad behaviors. When the friction is high, habits are difficult. So suppose you have to for a bad habit, you have to get rid of a bad habit, then what you have to do, you have to do the inverse. Then you have to increase the friction, that means make it difficult, so that you leave the habit. You are left with no option than leaving that habit. So prime your environment to make future actions easier. Set up an environment so that making good habits are easier, and breaking bad ones are you know difficult. Good bad habits are difficult. Continuing bad habits becomes difficult, and making good habits becomes easier. So, and the next chapter, chapter 13 here, talks about how to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. That means the law of least effort here also. How to stop procrastinating, how to stop delaying. So the people are naturally inclined to choose the path of least resistance. So aligning your habits with this tendency can lead to more successful outcomes. That means if you want to exercise, make sure your workout gear is readily accessible so that you don't have to go through a lot of effort to get it started. So keep the exercise outfit in front of you. So the law of least effort, when you have to put the least effort, the habit becomes, habit formation becomes easier. That means every day there are a handful of moments that deliver an outsized impact. the James refers to these little choices as decisive moments. So decisive moments set the options available to your future self. That means a habit must be established before it can be improved. So first establish a habit. Establish a habit of, reading books. Establish a habit of public speaking. Establish a habit of exercising. Then think of improving it. When it becomes, core to your personality, core to your nature, that means when it becomes automatic, then you can start improving the habit. So habits can be completed in a few seconds, but continue to impact your behavior for minutes or hours afterwards. So you exercise for 20 to 30 minutes a day, suppose, but you are energetic for the whole day. That is what he's saying, that habits can be completed in a few seconds, but continue to impact your behavior for minutes or hours afterwards. So many habits occur at decisive moments. That means choices that are like a fork in the road, and either send you in the direction of a productive day or an unproductive day. So that there are decisive moments. So either choices you make will lead to a productive day or an unproductive day. Everything is a choice. Every choice has a consequence. So, the 2-minute rule states that when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Whenever you start a new habit, make sure that it takes less than 2 minutes to do. So, the more you ritualize the beginning of a process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into the state of deep focus that is required to do great things. So, you have to make your habit a ritual. The more you ritualize the beginning of the process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into the state of deep focus that is required to do great things. So standardize before you optimize. That is what is the message. So you can't improve a habit that doesn't exist. So as I said, if you want to build a habit, first you're going to standardize that habit, then you are going to optimize. That means then you are going to improve. First make it consistent, make it a ritual, then you are going to improve the habit. So chapter 14 here talks about how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. That means how to make good habits inevitable. That means inevitable means you have no option but to do it, and you make bad habits impossible. That means modify your environment to make good habits easier to perform and bad habits difficult to perform. You have to modify your environment in such a way that good habits become easier to perform and bad habits become difficult to perform. That means if you want to get healthier, remove junk food from your pantry and stock up on the nutritious options. So here he talks about the inversion of third law of behavior. That means if you want to break a bad habit, you have to make it difficult. A commitment device is a choice you make in the present that locks in better behavior in the future. The commitment device, that means you have to make your commitment really strong. The ultimate way to lock in future behavior is to automate your habits. You have to develop or standardize your habits in such a way that they become automatic. That means you don't have to remind that generally we don't have to be reminded of brushing our teeth. We just get up and brush our teeth. Why? Because it is automated in our brain. So you make the habit so much, you standardize the habit so much so that it becomes automatic. So one time choices like buying a better mattress or enrolling in an automatic savings plan are single actions that automate your future habits and deliver increasing returns over time. There are some one time choices he talks about. So like buying a better mattress or enrolling in an automatic savings plan are single actions. They are only single actions that automate your future habits and deliver increasing returns over time. So using technology to automate your habits is the most reliable and effective way to guarantee the right behavior. So having a fit watch, you have a watch health oriented watch, that you can manage your time, manage your steps, and how much calories you're burnt. So that is a smart watch. So you can so that you are using technology, that means the smart watch, to automate your habit, that means the exercise. So using technology to automate your habits is the most reliable way to guarantee the right behavior. So this is the chapter 14. Next is chapter 15, the cardinal rule for of behavioral change. Behavior change. What is the cardinal rule for behavior change? What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So you do a work, and if that is immediately rewarded, you repeat that work. But which work is immediately punished, you tend to avoid that work. So immediate gratification plays a significant role in habit formation. That means if you enjoy jogging in the park, which is a reward, and feel a sense of accomplishment afterward, you're more likely to repeat the behavior. So um if you enjoy something, if it feels as a reward, then and it ultimately feels as an accomplishment afterwards, so a person is more likely to repeat the behavior. So here he talks about the fourth law of behavior change. That means make it satisfying. We are more likely to repeat a behavior when the experience is satisfying. The human brain evolved to prioritize immediate rewards over delayed rewards. So, if a person is immediately rewarded, so the human brain prioritizes the immediate rewards. So the cardinal rule for behavior changes: is immediately rewarded is repeated, and what is immediately punished is avoided. To get a habit to stick, you need to feel immediately successful, even if it is in a small way. So, the first three laws of behavior change: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, increase the odds that a behavior will be performed this time. So, the fourth law of behavior change: make it satisfying, increases the odds that a behavior will be repeated next time. So, all the four laws, that means the first three laws will increase, the chances of that being done. But this one, chances of and, increase the odds that a behavior will be performed. But here in the fourth behavior change, increases the odds that a behavior will be repeated next time. That means make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy for a thing is to, avoid, to stop. We avoid stopping from form that avoid stopping from a forming a habit, these three things. But make it satisfying increases the chances of repeating it. Okay. Next chapter is chapter 16: how to stick with good habits every day. This talks about how to stick with good habits every day. Show up and take action, even if it's just in a small way. Consistency is the key to habit formation. So, on a day when you're feeling low on energy, commit to doing just a few minutes of the task or habit. This reinforces the behavior. If even if you're feeling low in energy, just do the habit for a few minutes. What happens? This reinforces the behavior. Next time you will, when you have a high energy or you feel well, you automatically do the habit, continue with the habit. So the economist here, James Clear, mentions about the economist Charles Goodhart. Goodhart's law states that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. When something becomes your target, when a measure becomes your target, it ceases to be a good measure. So one of the most satisfying feelings is the feeling of making progress. So a habit tracker is a simple way to measure whether you did a habit, like marking an x on the calendar. You have to have the habit tracker that you have exercised or public speaking you have done, that you can do it simply on a calendar as well. Mark an x into mark, cross mark on a calendar. So habit trackers and other visual forms of measurement can make your habits satisfying by providing clear evidence of your progress. So don't break the chain. Try to keep your habit streak alive. So never miss twice. If you miss a habit one day, try to get back on track as quickly as possible. So just because you can measure something doesn't mean that it is the most important thing. So something is measurable, it doesn't become the most important thing. He also states this here. So the 17th chapter is how an accountability partner changes everything. So this talks about having an accountability partner. So small improvements compounded over time lead to remarkable results. So he talks about minute improvements. When you compound it over a period of time, this leads to remarkable result. So the power of compound growth applies to habits as well. When the power of as the power of compound growth applies to finance, he says that power of compound growth applies to habits as well. That means if you aim for a 1% improvement in a skill every day, over a time you will see significant progress and mastery. So the inversion of fourth law of behavior change is make it unsatisfying. We are less likely to repeat to have a lesson we not want of us. So if you have an accountability partner, what happens is you get immediately to action. That means a person, a human being in general, cares deeply about what others thinks of him or her, and do not want others to have a lesser opinion of them. So a habit contract can be used to add a social cost to any behavior. It makes the cost of violating your promises public and painful. So the habit contract is you tell that you are gonna do gonna exercise for so and so minutes, otherwise or else I'm gonna give a fine. So it will add a cost, so you are gonna give a fine, so you will not miss that habit. So knowing that, this is just an example, so knowing that someone else is watching you can be a powerful motivator. So when someone else is watching you, you do the work better, because you don't want others to have a lesser opinion of you. So knowing that someone else is watching can be a powerful motivator. The chapter 18 here is the truth about talent, when genes matter and when they don't. So he talks about the truth of talent. That means even positive habits can have downsides if taken to extremes, or if they are not balanced with other aspects of life. See, positive habits, when they are extreme and when they're not balanced with other aspects of life, they can also have some downsides. That means while exercise is crucial for health, for example, excessive or obsessive behavior of excessive exercise or obsessive behavior towards exercise can lead to burnout or even injury. So the secret to maximizing your odds of success is to choose the right field of competition. That means pick the right habit and progress is easy. Pick the wrong habit and life is a struggle. So he talks about picking the right habit so that the progress is easy. If you pick the wrong habit, the life becomes a struggle. So he talks about genes as well here. Genes cannot be easily changed. So the genetic material, the DNA, cannot be changed. That means which means they provide a powerful advantage in a favorable circumstances and a serious disadvantage in unfavorable circumstances. So genes can act as a powerful advantage in favorable circumstances and a serious disadvantage in unfavorable circumstances. That means habits are easier when they align with your natural abilities. Choose the habits that best suit you. So habits become easier when they align with your natural abilities. So you if you are a good speaker in the sense you talk well in general, so public speaking skill will become easier because it is your natural habit. You're naturally a good speaker, so to choose the habits that best suit you. Play a game that favors your strengths. If you can't find a game that favors you, create one. So play a game that favors your strengths. That means suppose in a subject or in a thing you're scoring 7 out of 10, instead of looking for the improving the subject where you have got 3 out of 10, if you improve the subject in which you have 7 out of 10, next time you get 10 out of 10, then what happens is this play a game that favors your strength, so you will be number 1 in that. If you can't find a game, then what you do is you create one game. which is, which favors your strength. That means genes do not eliminate the need of hard work. That means here he says that talented person also need to work hard, also need to put in the efforts. They clarify it, they tell us what work to do hard on. If he is a by by nature, by genes, if he sings good, that means the genes are not eliminating him to put the effort on singing. It is just giving you a hint that you can be a singer, you can be a best singer. That means you have to work hard on singing. That is what he's telling. Genes do not eliminate the need for hard work, they clarify it, they tell us about what to work hard on. So what should you perceive? So here we come to chapter 19th. So the chapter 19th talks about the Goldilocks rule. So how to stay motivated in life and work. The 19th chapter talks about how to stay motivated in life and work. That means setbacks and failures are a natural part of the process. What's important is how you respond and get back on track. So every individual will have setbacks and failures. In developing habits also, you will have setbacks and failures. Maybe for a day you are going to miss it. So but what is important is how you respond and get back on track. So how you bounce back, that is more important. If you miss a day of your new habit, acknowledge it without self judgment and recommit it to the next day. If you miss one day exercise, you are going to acknowledge it, you are not going to self judge or self criticize. Next day you missed a day, the next day you're gonna again commit to exercise. So the Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks are right on the edge of their current abilities. So when they are working, humans will experience peak motivation when they work on the tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. So you have to choose the right task which you are current which aligns with the current abilities. Current your current abilities, that is the Goldilocks rule. That means the greatest threat to success is not failure but boredom. See, the greatest threat, that means success is not failure. The greatest threat to success is not failure but boredom. That means doing nothing is the greatest threat to success rather than failure. As habits become routine, they become less interesting and less satisfying. We get bored. Sometimes this happens. Anyone can work hard when they feel motivated. It's the ability to keep going when work isn't exciting that makes the difference. So when a person feels motivated, it is easy for him to work hard, but it is the ability to keep going when work isn't exciting that makes the difference. If you keep on working, even though if the work is not exciting or interesting, even though you got bored, you're not stopping a habit. That makes the difference. So professionals sticks to the schedule, amateurs let life get in the way. So whoever are the professional, they stick to the schedule. If even if it is boring, even if it is not exciting, they keep doing it, they keep doing it, they keep doing it. Then that makes a difference. So next chapter is the 20th and the last chapter. That means the downside of creating good habits. Is there a downside of creating good habits? Yes, there is. So a small percentage of actions or efforts often lead to the majority of results. Focus on high impact habits. See, when you create a habit, make it a focus that you focus on high impact habits. creating high impact habits, that means the habits which gives you high impact. That means a small percentage of effort will give you the majority of the results. So 20% of the efforts give you the 80% of the results. So in a sales role, for example, a few clients or strategies may contribute significantly more to the revenue compared to a larger number of smaller efforts. So instead of choosing 100 clients, you have to choose 3 or 4 clients who contribute significantly more to the revenue. So do focus on the high impact things. So the upside of the habits is that we can do things without thinking. The downside is that we stop paying attention to the little errors. So habits plus deliberate practice is mastery. So habits, you have to deliberately practice habits until you master the habit. So reflection and review is a process that allows you to remain conscious of your performance over time. You have to reflect on the process and review the process of the habit. What happens is this makes you conscious of your performance over time. So, the tighter we cling to an identity, the harder it becomes to grow beyond it. So, this is the chapter 20. He talks about this. So, habits plus deliberate practice is equals to mastery. And then I have made some, I have taken some quotes which I felt important. I'm just going to quote the critical quotes which I felt that these are important. So you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. That means concentrate on the process rather than the outcome. Habits are the compound interest of self improvement. You know you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. So the most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. This we had discussed in the previous session. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. Here he highlights continue playing the game rather than winning the game. So you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. So success is the product of daily habits, not in a once in a lifetime transformation. So there is nothing called once in a lifetime transformation. Success is the product of daily habits. You have to do it daily. So deliberately practice it deliberately. The first mistake is never the one that ruins you. It is the spiral of repeated mistakes that follows. So you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Every action you take is a vote for the type of a person you wish to become. So, and when you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. So these are the quotes which I encapsulated, which encapsulates the key ideas and principles presented in the atomic habits. So here I complete the full book review of here I complete the full book review of Atomic Habits. And on this auspicious occasion, happy Ganesh Chaturthi. And one thing is we celebrate, and this is so fortunate. I feel so fortunate that on this significant festival celebrated to honor Lord Ganesha, you know who is revered as the remover of obstacles, the god of wisdom, the patron of arts and sciences. So the festival holds great cultural, religious and social significance for millions and millions of us, at least Indians. So I feel fortunate to have discussed the atomic habits, on this auspicious day. So happy Ganesh Chaturthi, and let me know of your thoughts, what you felt of the session, and namaste. And I'll see you in the next session. So thank you for staying tuned.